Welcome to part 3 of Ossia CMS webinar. We're going to continue with resource management. So under resource management, we can find all of the resources that build our system. So we have here a list of resources, encoding device, decoder, and all of those. Of course, we're going to go through one by one, only the ones that are relevant for us, but we're going to start with the encoding device. So under encoding device, we can find all of the devices that are on our CMS. If we want to add a new device, all we have to do is to press the add button, and immediately we will see on the quickly add all of the devices that are located on our LAN. The CMS automatically scans the LAN, and then we can just choose the device that we want to add, whether they are an NVR, DVR, or IP camera. They will show up here, and then automatically we can add them. Of course, that we can choose the default password for how the CMS is going to add different kind of devices. So since we integrated with Hikvision and Dahua, we can choose what will be the default password for Hikvision device or Dahua device. So then it will be automatically added also, without us to be needed to edit the password later. Under manually add, we can add devices both locally or remotely via the IP address. So basically we put the IP address, the dynamic or the local IP address of the device. Same thing with the username and password and the port. Of course, we can choose what kind of device it is. Also, it can be HIC or Dahua or maybe OnVIF. Then we can add that device. Now, a few options we have to add devices is through an IP address or an IP range. If we have a lot of devices under a domain name, we can also add them via DDNS address or via a serial number, which means that we can add a device via his P2P also. A URL is also an option. Now the auto report, which is very important. So we are used to add a device from the CMS itself. Just like we did before, we went to quickly add or to manually add, and we provided the details of the device that we want to add. In auto report, we do the exact opposite, which is very beneficial if we are adding a lot of devices that can be scattered around different locations. So we can make those devices to connect to our CMS automatically. There is a small example. As you can see here, we have in the normal setup, we have the main machine that contains the Ossia CMS, that is the computer for that example, and that computer will connect to the devices. Each device has its own IP address or the DNS, of course, and we have to connect to each one separately. In auto report, what happens is the exact opposite. All of the devices, by the way, this presentation is available through us in Provision. All of the devices, whether it is an IP camera or an NVR, they can connect to our Ossia CMS via the remote IP address or through DDNS. So how exactly do we do that? Well, first of all, there is only one port that we need to forward into our CMS. That port is 2009. Of course, that port is perfectly changeable. So we are going to go into the web interface or the local interface of our device, whether it is an IP camera or an NVR. And right now I'm on the right screen. Let me show you how I got into that screen. First of all, we press function panel. We go into network, and inside network we can go into the right here we have platform access. In platform access we enable the auto report and we provide the server address. In this case it's an internal IP because I'm working internally right now, but of course that we can provide an external IP or a DDNS address. And we provide the required port. By the way, the port is perfectly changeable through the management services. the server tray UI, which is available through the enterprise version, but also through the standard version. And it can be found right here under transfer server, because after all it is a transfer method. Once I press configure, I have two things here. I have port 6006 for the transfer server and 2009 for the auto report. Of course we can change it, but not in this case. So next thing is just to choose what report ID this device is going to have. So of course that we cannot have more than one devices under the same report ID. So this one will be report ID 1, and we'll press apply, and we're gonna go back into our CMS and provide that same number, device number. We just chose 1, then it's going to be 1. We're going to provide the right password for our device, just like this, and we press OK. That's it. Now wait for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and we are going to see that that line has become black. So it means that the NVR has connected, just like if I was connecting it on the normal method. And we can watch video and everything same. The exact same thing is possible through an IP camera, of course. So this is a very good way if we want to connect multiple devices from different locations into our CMS. Next is the device settings. Pretty simple actually. This is where we can control the settings of our device. So in this case it's an NVR, and let's see a couple of the options. We can control the NVR's resolution, the time on the NVR, device log, network parameters, email, who will be the recipient and what email will be used to send emails, the DNS, and of course we can add remove users. Disk information, we can see that we have 2 disks on our NVR and 1 USB. And record mode, we can even control how the NVR is going to record, strictly through motion, or maybe via sensor, maybe a combination of the both, or maybe any other parameter that doesn't exist right here. Okay, now not only that we can control the NVR settings, we can also control IP camera settings. So for example, those are cameras that are connected to .NVR. Now it doesn't matter if they are connected through a switch or a PoE, or a PoE that is a part of the NVR, a built-in PoE of course. So let's see a couple of the options we have here. Let's go back to the start. Now we took for example that camera. We can see that we have image parameters. We can control of course the brightness and the contrast, the saturation, everything is changeable. Let's put it on default. We can control the stream. What will be the resolution of the camera, both on the main stream, substream, and the event record stream. Event record is for if we want to save some space on our HDD, so we can control that on regular basis the camera will record on lower frame rate like this, or lower stream rate. We can change the different parameters for each recording type, and whenever there is an event record stream, then the record will be on the high resolution possible, so we get a better resolution when something happens. Motion detection, we can control of course where we want to have recording from when there is a motion, so we can select part of the screen, or in this case all of the screen. Now we're not going to go through all of the different settings because really we know most of them, but let's go over the the new one, okay, the attractive ones. So if we'll go for example into a PTZ camera, then we will see here preset settings and cruise settings. So of course that we can create presets through the CMS. I already created one previously. Now as soon as we press it, the camera will go into that direction that we have already set, which is that direction. Now if we add a couple of presets, we can create a cruise that will make the camera to jump between one point to another. All of that is settable through here, through the CMS. Now we have DDA cameras. In short, if you don't already know, then DDA stands for Detect, Distinguish and Alert. It means that those cameras have artificial intelligence capabilities inside them. So basically those cameras can detect, they can distinguish between human being to vehicle to two-wheel vehicle, and they can also count. They can count vehicles or people, and of course the face recognition ability. They can detect between person X to person Y. So a couple of the things we can do from the CMS. Let me find one of the one of the options. Face recognition. Let's go for area entry, for example. Under area entry, we can just set enable, and then immediately we can draw where we want our trigger to take place. For example, we create that area right here. So whoever access that area that we have just drawn, that will activate a trigger that we can control what trigger is going to happen. Sorry. So of course we can control on what object we want to have notifications, if it's a vehicle or maybe human or a two-wheel vehicle. Of course, that if you want to learn more about DDA capabilities, then you should see our other webinars about DDA, about face recognition. This webinar is strictly about the CMS. Next, we are going to go into area settings. So areas represent the different places where we have our devices. It's very simple. Let's make a short example. Let's, for example, say that I am a security company and I have a couple of clients. One of them is McDonald's. So my area, my main area will be McDonald's. This is my first company. Okay, I hope I wrote it good. So I have a branch. Okay, one of my branches of McDonald's is in Israel. So I'm going to add another area and name it Israel. Nice. So I have now a main area which is called McDonald's. I have a sub area that is called Israel, and I want my NVR that I have installed inside of my McDonald's branch in Israel, I want it to be inside Israel. So right now we can see that we have 16 channels in the main area, but we don't want it there. We want it under Israel. So I'm going back into add, edit or delete device to encoding device where we were in the first place, and then we are just editing the area. So we press select area and we say that that NVR right here is going to be a part of Israel. So I press OK. I will see that the area right here, select area, that area will be Israel, and I will see that under Israel I have 16 channels, same as with the main area that I have. Now, very simple. If I have another company, because I'm a security company, then I have maybe another company. Let's call it, let's think quick, Gillette. Okay, Gillette, right. So Gillette is another main area, another company. So under Gillette I have a branch in this time United States. You see, so under Gillette I have United States, under McDonald's I have Israel, and I think you got the point. I'm going to go to add and edit a device. Let's add, for example, one of my cameras that they are in United States. Okay, I hope that that is the right password, and all we have to do is to select the right area for that camera. We're gonna go to USA under Gillette. Right, so we have now NVR Israel, which is in Israel, and we have that camera which is in the United States. If you want to know exactly what's going on, then we're gonna go to here and we will be able to see it. So really the best way to see it will be to go to where we were in that webinar part 1 in the live view, and in live view we can see both of our areas. We have both of our companies, Gillette and McDonald's, and under each one of them we have the branches. So under USA branch we have one camera, main passage, and under Israel branch we have an entire NVR. So of course, that to each branch we can add as many as we like, as many devices as we like. Okay. Channel group, pretty simple. If you want to create a group of video channels, for example, if you want all of the cameras that are in McDonald's to be in one group, then just one click on McDonald's, and then immediately we will see here that we have all of those cameras, a total of 16. Of course, if we had a couple of branches under McDonald's, we can choose a couple of them, not necessarily to have all of them. So after we do that, we just need to give it a name. Let's give it a name, keyboard number. Keyboard number, by the way, is we have a dedicated keyboard of Provision ISR that whenever we press a button, we can automatically get those devices that we have set. So if we said that keyboard number 1 would give us that channel group, then whenever we press that button, we will get those cameras that we have selected on our, for example, decoder or TV wall or on our CMS. Dwell time, it means how much time will pass between the showing of one camera to the next. That is, of course, if we will press the sequence button, which I'm going to show you really soon, and a parent channel group. Since we don't have any other channel group, then we cannot choose a parent channel group. So let's see how to choose a sequence. So once again, we're gonna go into live view, and right here we can see channel groups. Let's close all of our videos. Now under channel group, right, this is video point and this is channel group. We can see MC. This is the group that I've just created. Then a quick press on that button right here says all of the cameras group can be automatically switched in the selected window. So let's go and, for example, choose 25. I'll choose that window, for example, and press play. So immediately all of the cameras will play one by one in a sequence of 5 seconds, which is what we have chosen right here. Okay. Of course, that if you want to show all of the cameras instead of sequencing them one after another, then we can just press double click like I just did here, but maybe it will be better to choose the first screen and then double click. We can see all of the cameras. Of course, we can also drag the channel group. So the channel group is a great way if you want to divide between different groups of cameras in press of a button. So next thing is going to be the resource management, and we're going to continue with our resources. So starting with the decoder. So this is where we can add a decoder. I already explained about a decoder in the TV wall section, but long story short, a decoder can support 144 different video channels. It's cost effective comparing to a computer that will support the same amount of video channels. And the main design of a decoder is to show videos for a long period of time. That's its purpose. So this here, the decoder part, this is where we can add a decoder. Of course, that our Ossia CMS will automatically identify on the LAN the decoder. Now right now it won't identify because we already have that decoder. Just for an example, if I'll search for an encoding device, I will get much more results. The decoder setting only shows decoders. So next thing is the Cascade platform. The main use for us to use a Cascade platform, which goes, by the way, hand to hand with the Cascade server, is if you want to merge two different Ossia CMSs into one. So each Ossia CMS, I'm talking about the enterprise version, of course. Each Ossia CMS has its own management server and all of the resources connected to that Ossia CMS, whether it is the analytics server, storage server, media transfer server. So if you want to merge, and of course all of the data, all of the devices, all of the cameras, so if you want to merge two different Ossias into one, the Cascade server is the way to do that. Next is the analytics server. So in our CMS, we have a lot of different features that involve artificial intelligence. Things such as counting people, or more precisely objects such as vehicles or motorcycles. Parking lot management, which can manage our parking lot through the license plates of the vehicles. Face recognition, face greeting, attendance system. All of that is being done by our server, analytics server. So there isn't a lot to say more about that server, only that if you want to see how we install that and all of the other resources, then you should go and see our installation wizard. It is basically mainly happens on the Ossia CMS Enterprise installation wizard. Next is the storage server. Main purpose of a storage server is to store all of our recordings. So if you want our recordings to be saved not only on a device such as an NVR or a DVR, if you want them also on a dedicated storage server, then we can install it. Basically, it's a process that sits on a computer or a server. We can determine how many partitions that device is going to have. So in that case, it's a laptop, of course, so it's a minimum, but of course that we can reach to very high volumes of data. And of course that you can watch how to install the storage server and any other resource in the installation wizard, mainly in the Ossia CMS Enterprise. Next is the media transfer server. The transfer server role is very simple but very important. Its purpose is to transfer the videos to the end users. So an end user uses his phone, his computer, his web browser to connect to his cameras. Of course, it can be an employee of a company that has a lot of different devices. Then that employee tries to connect to his camera in his office, but in the same time many other employees or customers connect also, so the load on the upload is very huge. So of course that the video won't operate very well. This is why we have the transfer server. The transfer server actually gets all of the videos from all of the devices that can be scattered around the world, and the transfer server will be installed in a place like a server farm that has a very high capacity, very high upload capacity. So whenever the clients connect to the videos, they will connect directly to the transfer server instead of to the devices. So whenever they connect to the transfer server, because it has a high amount of upload, then there will be no a problem on transferring that video into the clients. Of course that for any one of these roles, of these resources, every one of them can be installed, all of them can be installed on the same machine, same as I did here, but they can be installed in remote locations. This is the exact purpose, so that we can divide the load between different locations. Next will be the alarm server. We have the ability to receive notifications from every kind of events such as motion detection, face recognition, line crossing, sensor alarms, really many possibilities. How to do that, how to operate and set it up, those are things that we are going to I'm going to demonstrate up next. It takes place here in Alarm Center, and of course that when we reach here, I'm going to dedicate all of the time needed in order to explain that part. So next will be the TV wall server. So in part 1 we have did a couple of things with the TV wall management. I've shown how to connect a decoder into the TV wall and how to operate it, how to send videos into the through the decoder. So all of that is possible, of course, not only through a decoder, it is possible also through a TV wall hardware. So all of that is possible due to the fact that we have the TV wall server. This is the server that runs in the background and they make all of this possible. Next is the Cascade server. So it comes hand with hand with the Cascade platform, which, as I have mentioned before, the main use of it is to merge between two Ossia CMS enterprise, that each one can include thousands of different devices, of course. So if you want to merge them together, there is a process that has to take place. So of course that we're not going to go through all of the process right now, but there will be a dedicated webinar on how to do that. Next comes the account and permission. So under user account settings, this is where we set what users will have, what permissions, and we can control practically everything. So let's see how we do that. So as you can see, we have one user here, the admin. The admin user is the super administrator. It cannot be deleted, and this is the user that can operate the entire system. It can do everything. But we don't want to allow any user to do everything. We want to give different users different permissions. We know that from many other different systems. So if we will try to create a user, this is me creating a user, I won't be able to, because the permission group cannot be empty. We need to create a permission group. So first of all, let's go into user permission group settings. Now let's think. So we said that we are a security company that gives services to two companies, Gillette and McDonald's. Let's have a quick reminder. We have Gillette, we have a branch in the United States, we have McDonald's and a branch in Israel. So we want to create a permission group for the IT department of, for example, Gillette. Okay, so we add that group, and since it's a group for the IT department, then we want them to have a lot of permissions. So we're going to select all of the permissions, and of course we said Gillette, so not McDonald's, only Gillette. And you know what? Only Gillette in United States. Okay, since we could have much more branches than just in the United States. Now of course that we can do the same for separated devices, but in this case we want all of the devices under United States. So TV all permission, let's give them all permission and press OK. The permission group name cannot be empty, let's give it a name. So we said that it is Gillette IT department, that's it. So I've added USA to make it more convenient for us. We know that Gillette has a branch in United States, right? We can see here all of the system permissions, a lot of permissions the IT department has. And now let's create another permission group, this time for the Gillette employees in United States. Now the employees have much less permissions than the IT department. So we're only going to choose the United States cameras, okay, devices basically. Of course that we can select what device we want. This time it's all of the devices, and we want them to be able to watch live view, to watch playback. We don't want them to be able to back up, and other than that we don't have a problem allowing them most of the things. So we press OK, and now we have another group, one for the IT department, one for the EMP, the employees. I've added another username, Ted. He belongs to the IT department of Gillette in United States. So John belongs to the employee and Ted is the IT department. If we're talking about the standard version, then it means that they will connect through here, through the client itself. It's a standalone. They just press switch user, or whenever the Ossia CMS is first started, then it asks you to connect with the right user. If we're talking about the enterprise, then of course they will connect remotely from their client, whether it is a CMS or a smartphone client or a web client. Next thing is the alarm center. The Alarm Center provides us with a lot of information and setup capabilities. First of all, we can see all of the events that took place between one period of time to a second one. So we first we choose the start time. Let's go for today. Now, the list of events we can see is really all of the events possible, starting from motion detection to intrusion detection under the DDA cameras. If you don't know what is DDA, you're more than welcome to see the webinar about DDA, Detect, Distinguish, and Alert. Shortly, those are cameras that has artificial intelligence that allows us to distinguish between human beings to vehicles, dual vehicles. Of course, in more events we can see our face match. It means that a face got recognized, or a face detection, like here, that the face got detected. Those faces are not on the database, so the NVR, the system doesn't know how to recognize them, but they detected. Of course, we can see on the bottom right 13,000 and more different events, and we can also export all of those events right into our computer locally, so we can in a txt file, so later on we can access that list and manage it. Next, the alarm linkage. This is where we can set what will happen when an event has happened. What event? Doesn't matter if it is, for example, motion detection or alarm in, video loss, really all kinds of different events that might happen on a camera or an NVR are listed right here, and we can associate each one of those events with a different trigger, such as to activate a PTZ control, or start a record, or taking a snapshot, or alarm view. Of course, we're going to go through them right now. So first of all, the table that we see here is simply a representation of our devices on the Gillette area. Remember, we made two areas. One is Gillette, which under it we have USA, and McDonald's, under it we have Israel. So we are now marking Gillette, and USA is in Gillette, so we can see all of the devices in that area. If we will choose Israel, we will see the devices in Israel area. Of course, McDonald's, same. So what can we do from here? What can we do from here? We can choose what action will take place once an event has happened. The event that after that event something will happen, we choose from right here the alarm type. So we say that whenever there is a motion detection in the camera that we are going to choose right now, let's choose second floor, then we want first of all we want alarm view. We want to see that camera pop up. So now we are going to choose that camera, and we are going to choose another camera, the roof PTZ, which I pre-made a preset, so I want to see everything works, and we're going to mark it on. If we don't mark it on, it's not a problem. Let's push it there. It's not a problem. We can do it whenever we want, right from here. Now, second thing will be the PTZ control. We want that whenever there is a motion detection on that camera, the second floor, we want to activate a PTZ. Which one? The roof PTZ, which we have chosen before. Roof PTZ, right? And then we can choose the preset of that camera. So since we only have one preset on that camera, then this is the one that's going to happen. Okay, once we've finished, we can see in the conclusion that whenever there is a motion on that camera, there will be an activity on the PTZ and on the alarm view. And the most important thing is to select the schedule. When do we want that rule to happen? We don't always want that PTZ to operate, or we don't always want the alarm view. Maybe we just want activities when we are in our office, or the options are unlimited. Let's go for 24/7 and press apply. I'm going to go now to make an event. So I've made an event, and immediately there is a pop-up of two windows. One is the camera that I have on the right, of course, I'm not on the roof. On the right, this is the camera I moved. I created movement, and on to the left we can see the PTZ. Now, of course, that window, the alarm view window, is separated from the alarm center. Okay, so it means that we can take this window, the alarm view window. There is another movement. So once again we can see the roof PTZ goes to the same direction once again. Now we can take the alarm view and drag it to another screen if we have one connected to our computer. So that makes a perfect command and control system. So straight from here, from the alarm view window, we can also take control over our PTZ. Of course, if we want to follow the object that has made the motion or whatever we want to set. Of course, we can jump from one preset to another if we want. And if you don't know the information of the camera, we can press channel info and get all of the information of the camera. Right now it's easy, we only have 2, but we could have 1,000. We can start device talkback. Really, most of the options that we can go to from the live view are also possible through the alarm view. Okay, so moving back to the alarm linkage. Now, of course, we're not gonna go through all of the different possibilities, but actually the setting them up is very similar to what we just did. It's the same principle. So, for example, let's take a face detection. So whenever a face being detected on, let's choose a camera main passage, then we want a recording to take place on, let's say, sales desk camera, for example, and main passage, the same camera. We press on, don't forget it. Of course, whenever, if we forgot it, we can just return and do the opposite. We want also an alarm view of that same camera, so let's search for main passage. There it is. And this is it. Basically, very simple to set, very intuitive, and do not forget the schedule. This is it. We press apply and we are all set. So it's pretty obvious what we can do from this screen alone. We can activate manually the alarms, okay, the relays that are connected to our cameras right here, or to the back of the NVR physically, if we have a relay outs throughout our devices. So we can choose an entire area. That area can contain hundreds of devices and thousands of channels. We can operate them all in a press of a button. So if we want to activate, let me quickly think of an example. Okay, for if there was a breach in a high sensitive facility, for example, maybe a prison or a government facility, and we know that there is something wrong happens, we can, in the press of a button, activate all of the sirens that are connected to those relays. So immediately all of the places, all of the sirens in that place can be activated in a press of a button. Of course, we can do that simultaneously for all of our areas. How do we do that? We just press trigger alarm out, it activates, and whenever we want to close it, we press close. Next thing is the SOP setting. SOP stands for Standard of Procedure. It means that we can associate different kinds of actions for different kind of events. For example, if there was a smoke detector that detected smoke in some area in our facility, then the operator of those events can immediately know what to do regarding to this specific event. And I'm going to demonstrate it right now. So first of all, we will create our SOP. Let's call it smoke. So under smoke, whenever there is a smoke detector, okay, the smoke detector, we will tell the operator what to do in case that he encounters that kind of event. So first of all, maybe this is not the right order, but call fire department. This is number 1. Second of all, we want him to evacuate the area. Third, check camera 3, because camera 3 captures the storage where the smoke detector is. Of course, this is all theoretical. just for the explanation. So there is a camera that captures the storage. The storage might be on fire because a smoke detector has detected smoke, and immediately we had this right here. We had an event. Okay, we can associate it later. Then we can associate the SOP into the specific event. So whenever a smoke, an event from that smoke detector has happened, we will be able to access here alarm processing. The operator will access this button right here, and he will immediately see all of the actions he should take regarding to that specific event. So he can mark himself, he did that in that time, he did that in that time, he did that that action that time in 10:04 and 22 seconds, and then he did all of those. Of course, he can save it, or he can check it by himself and determine that it was a false alarm, a true alarm, a customer test, a technical event, okay, or any other trigger that has caused that event. Maybe it was a false alarm, maybe it was just a service test, maybe just a technical event, maybe the technical department has tried something on the smoke detector. That's it. Press save, and then of course we need to save and then press save. Very simple. So on this webinar we have learned how to add resources, what each resource do. We've learned how to add devices. We learned about the different methods, how to add them quickly from the LAN by scanning them, how to add them manually if they are remoted. Of course, since we integrated, then Hikvision and Dachau are also a possibility. What each area does, how to select areas, what is the idea behind them, transfer server, storage server, auto report, which means which is a very beneficial way to add a lot of different devices if we are not near those devices, to make those devices to come to us, to come to the CMS itself. Also, that has been explained. Of course, we're not going to go through everything right now, but account and permissions, users, groups, alarm center, everything that has to do with alarms, and all of the parts that we have covered on this webinar are mostly about the Ossia CMS standard. Of course, they exist also on the enterprise, but the main parts of the standard version has been covered up in this seminar part 2, except the face recognition, which also exists on the standard version, but it is going to be discussed on the next webinar. So I hope you enjoyed. I know I have. I was David, and hope to see you in the next part. Have a good day.